doing that too. Yeah, it'll take a minute, but yeah, mine did it earlier. Okay, is staff ready? Yes, council ready? I'm going to go ahead and call today's meeting of the Yountville Town Council to order. It is Tuesday, May the 21st at 3 p.m. So with that, can you just do a voice roll call for us?
Here. Councilmember Reeves?
Here.
Councilmember McKee Kent?
Here.
Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Vice Mayor Tripp?
Here.
Mayor Moeller?
Here. And can we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And if there is no discussion, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda, followed by a second?
Move adoption. I move adoption.
I second.
Can you maybe turn that down so we can hear you?
I second, in case someone didn't hear that.
Okay. And can we get we're going to do a button vote for this one, right?
If you could just do a voice vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That passes unanimously. Next item is council member announcements. I have a couple I'll start off with. I just wanted to make a big thank you to our Parks and Rec and the whole Yountville team for what a wonderful art sip and stroll event we had. The weather was perfect, so good job there as well. Great crowds. I think the setup this year, everybody commented on that and really liked that, and I thought all the exhibits were great. And it was good that we could just kind of walk across Washington Street without, going down to Veterans Park. I heard a lot of comments about that. So thank you very much for doing that. It was great. And a couple Memorial Day events. On Sunday, they're at the Yountville Pioneer Cemetery and Ancient Indian Burial Grounds at 1 p.m. So it's Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. We will have our annual ceremony at that site, and I'll be giving the keynote speech, which is titled "The History of the Yountville Pioneer Cemetery and Ancient Burial Grounds 175th Anniversary." So it should be fun. And then the next day, on Memorial Day at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Home, we will have the annual ceremony that we have up there, and I'll be giving some opening remarks. And so the public is invited to both events. If you're around, please join us. Any other council comments? Seeing none. Okay, I will move on to, we have one proclamation. I will be giving a proclamation because May is Preservation Month, and I'll be giving it to Napa County Landmarks. And John Sensenbog, are you here? Come on, meet me at the podium, John. I don't think I need my agenda. Maybe I'll take the proclamation now.
You might need that.
Speech. I hope that's okay.
Well, 40 slides, right? So this proclamation is in recognition of Historic Preservation Month, May 2024, whereas the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 inaugurated the National Historic Preservation Act, championing the protection and adaptive reuse of America's historic, cultural, and archaeological treasures, and whereas Yountville is rich with diverse historic assets, including mid-century modern design, resorts, ghost wineries, Victorian-era commercial buildings, and one-of-a-kind residences, which tell the unique story of our region and the community. Whereas, since its founding in 1974, Napa County Landmarks has been pivotal in safeguarding our architectural heritage through education, advocacy, and direct action, ensuring that our historic landscape endures for future generations. And whereas Napa County Landmarks honors the dedication of individuals and groups throughout the years, celebrating outstanding efforts in restoration and adaptive reuse that exemplify best practices in historic preservation. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Margie Moeller, Mayor of the Town of Yountville, on behalf of the Yountville Town Council, do hereby proclaim May as Historic Preservation Month, recognizing Napa County landmarks and the vital role of historic preservation in enhancing our quality of life, strengthening our communities, promoting economic development, and fostering a deeper connection to our shared heritage. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I think...
Right there.
Oh, you moved. I didn't go that far around. So.
All right, beautiful. Very nice.
Nice.
Pickles.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank
Good.
you very much.
There you go.
Gonna talk.
1 hour, we're going to time it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Mayor and council members of the City of Yountville. She did mention in the proclamation that Napa County Landmarks was founded in 1974, which makes this our 50th anniversary, and we're quite proud of that. In May is National Preservation Month nationally, so but we've been very busy this month, and I'm just going to go. It won't take very long. I'm just going to go over some of the things we've been involved with this month of May, and starting with earlier this month, there was the Bike Fest in Napa, where one of our council members, Bernie Navarez, led a group of bikers through the historic Abajo neighborhood in Napa. And Napa County Landmarks was one of the sponsors of Bike Fest this year. We are sending 3 of our board members and friends to the California Preservation Conference later on this month in L.A. And at that conference, a couple of our board members and friends will be giving a talk at a session down there regarding our involvement in helping to spearhead the adaptive reuse of the Crescent area where the Napa County Health and Human Services had existed for years on Old Sonoma Road. That project is in its infancy stages, but it will happen, and there will be workforce housing as well as market rate housing created at that location. And again, we were very instrumental in having that get through the process with the county and the city of Napa. Just last weekend, we were partners with the St. Helena Historical Society, and we had a garden tour in St. Helena featuring 10 homes up there that had beautiful gardens. We had over 400 visitors from Napa, Yountville, St. Helena, and outside the area come and enjoy the beautiful gardens up there and at some of the homes that are, some of them are historic and some of them not necessarily old and historic, but contribute to the betterment of the area. We have just completed passing out almost 1,500 coloring books to all the third graders in Napa County, and these coloring books feature historic buildings and sites throughout Napa County, and there is a teacher work page in the back of the coloring book to lead in discussion with the third graders on the importance of some of our historical sites and buildings. And finally, since 2019, Napa County Landmarks has awarded over $40,000 in scholarships to graduating seniors throughout Napa County. And I'm going to have the privilege in a couple of days to go down to American Canyon and present 3 of those 12 scholarships that we're giving this year to American Canyon graduates. So these are some of the activities we're involved with, and we're very honored to be recognized with the proclamation from the city of Yountville today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
And I do appreciate the proclamation. I will take it with me.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Now it's time for public comment that's on anything that is not on today's agenda. Does anybody want to comment on something not on today's agenda? No? Okay. Are we going to be talking about the item later, or is it just something not related to anything that we're going to talk about?
I'm not sure. I was kind of called at the last minute, but I wanted to show my support. It would be for consent, Kellen,
If it's on, I am going to call.
administrative regular items B.
Yeah, that'll come up later.
Is that so I can talk back?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Anybody else want something that's not on today's agenda that we're going to talk about? Okay. I'm going to move on to our consent calendar, and we have items A through K. And before I ask for a motion or any discussion, I will take public comment on any item A through K on our consent calendar. See none. Can I get a motion if there's no discussion? Vice Mayor Tripp?
Madam Mayor, when would the correct time be to ask to take something off the consent calendar? Is that now?
Yes, right now, yeah,
Unfortunately, my computer's not working, so I can't pull up the number.
Yeah,
but
mine's
the item I'm interested in is the path, the resolution K, the last one. I wanted to ask staff a question about that before we approve it.
okay, so why don't we go ahead and I'll ask for a motion to approve item A through J.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve consent calendar items A through J.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Let's do our button voting.
There we go.
If you could try that again.
It's showing up on my request to speak
And items
box.
A through J passed.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. And, okay, so Vice Mayor Tripp would like to pull for further discussion item K. So this item is a resolution to request MTC, which is Metropolitan Transportation Commission, for allocation of fiscal year 2025-2026 TDA 3 funding. So,
I wanted to ask Mr. Ferns, as the Public Works Director, would this, just to get a sense of the process, I know what the MTA is, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, would this be money to actually construct it, and is it a grant, or I just wanted to get a sense of how it works? And just for the public, this is the completion or the extension of, and again, my computer's not working, the path well, I'll let you describe it better.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, John Ferns, Public Works Director. This item is for the town. When we apply for grant funding through NVTA, our local transportation authority, the town council needs to certify via resolution that the town is officially applying for a grant. So this resolution is affirming our application through NVTA for MTC funds for the TDA 3 program. The funds itself are specific for the development of what we call the Southern Loop path, but it's essentially the Southern Loop. If you're familiar with where Hopper Creek path ends, it has kind of an awkward ending down there by the apartment complex. So this would look at the opportunity to work with the adjacent property owner and come up with a temporary and or permanent solution to get from the end of that path back out to Washington Street near Veterans Park. The funds themselves could be available for design, acquisition of easements, and or construction, or any version of the three.
Okay, and having walked to that dead end, I do understand the issue. And I think this was approved as part of the capital projects as well. Is that correct? Or to the extent that we don't have grant funding, or it doesn't fully fund the project's construction?
The project is included in the capital improvement program that is in the budget item that you will consider later today.
Okay, and what? So it's kind of a project that we're going to do regardless of whether we get the grant funding. Would that be accurate? Or is it dependent on the grant funding?
It's not 100% dependent on the grant funding, no.
Okay. Can I ask, how much did we apply for in the grant? Do you apply for a dollar amount?
We're applying for the $75,000 amount.
Okay, so that's really for study.
It's study and easement acquisition.
Okay.
And then depending on which version of the path gets developed, there might be some money left over for construction or not.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that as part of the consent calendar, we approve item K, which is the council approving the application for the grant funding.
I'll take a second. Nope, I said I'll take one.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. And
You may vote now.
we'll try the buttons again.
And that passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. And next on our agenda are guest presentations, of which we have none. And item 10 is the one public hearing we have today. And this one we are going to consider the introduction and waiving the first reading of an ordinance that's amending sections of our municipal code which require use permits for operating public facilities. And first we'll start with Planning Director Borvis will give us a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As the mayor mentioned in the introduction...
I don't think, do you have a microphone there? I don't,
Oh, can you hear me? No?
no.
Yeah. The light's on, but...
Yeah, I heard the tap tap, but not volume-wise.
You could use the hand one, maybe.
And that's all you had to do?
I shut down. I'm going to try again.
Let's just, can I pause for a second? The council's having, maybe we need Jason again in here. We're having problems with our,
So he's trying to figure out if we have a Wi-Fi.
I'm not the only one? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Me too.
And he's working on it.
okay, thank you very much.
Just came up.
That-
I'm still logging on, but
Okay.
thank you for...
Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue.
All right, thank you. Again, as the mayor mentioned in the introduction, the item before you is for a zoning ordinance amendment to amend the Public Facilities Zoning District. The Public Facilities Zoning District, also known as the PF Zone, was created to accommodate governmental, public utility, and public educational facilities, as well as public services provided by private operators. The PF zone currently permits public facilities operated by government agencies, quasi-public services, emergency shelters, and any other use authorized by a development agreement without requiring a use permit. Other uses included in that PF zone include outdoor recreation, indoor recreation, and fitness centers, skilled nursing facilities, congregate housing, daycare centers, utility facilities, rooftop uses, are other compatible and appropriate uses. But those uses require a use permit, so they go through that use permit process. To clarify and clean up this section of the code and to provide the town with a little bit greater flexibility to offer some community programs and services in the public facility zone, we are recommending that the council amend that ordinance to expressly permit uses that would be subject to an agreement approved by the town council within the PF zone. Again, these amendments would allow for flexibility to enter agreements with a third party. And then, again, they can provide for a variety of services available to the town. Again, those agreements would have to be approved by the town council. Again, we're asking you to do the introduction and waive the first reading of the ordinance, and then, again, adopt the ordinance that is before you today. And I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Okay, so first I'll take questions, and then I'll open the public hearing, and then after we close the public hearing, we'll bring it back for discussion. So, Councilmember Reeves.
Director, I want to make sure I understand the PF zone includes the town hall and the community center and the YES property.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Vice Mayor Tripp.
So my first question is, I think I understand, especially the rationale in this instance, that it allows for flexibility. But what would be the downside of not requiring use permits? I mean, eventually a use permit would come up before the town, and any decision on a contract here would come up before the town council. And whenever you look at I think it makes sense given the community center and where we find ourselves today. But in general, is there a downside to not having a use permit process? In other words, less protection for the public, less, and maybe this is a question for Gary, less environmental EIR restriction, environmental impact. I was not quite sure. And then related to that, I'd ask you, Gary, how do most towns and cities handle this kind of issue?
Go ahead.
So it will not, can you guys hear me on this?
No.
Okay.
This one works.
Yeah. Your portable mic is coming your way.
Okay, how about now?
You're good.
Okay, so it will not change CEQA. CEQA is the same regardless of whether or not you're approving it. If it's a discretionary action, it's going to trigger CEQA, whether that's an agreement or a use permit. The distinction here that probably matters the most is that a use permit runs with the land. So when you approve a use permit and that person commences the use under what you've approved, they have a vested right to continue that use until they discontinue it or change the use in some way. So an agreement gives you much more flexibility, and currently you all are, of course, the owner of that property and the owner of the building, and so when you're thinking about what sort of uses you are going to allow in that building and the duration of time that you might want those uses to be there, you can lay all of that out in an agreement that can have a termination clause and other things in it that will allow you to pivot and go in a different direction if you want to in the future, in a way that a use permit will probably restrict you a little more. So that's why I think staff is looking at the agreement and amending it in this way. Use permits are still possible. So there's two sections, just as there are in all of your zones. There's a list of permitted uses and a list of conditionally permitted uses, so those that require a use permit. And there's still a catch-all in the PF zone for any other compatible use by use permit. And so you could still use the use permit process for this site should you choose to do so. So that is still an option. This just gives you the additional option of doing it by agreement without a use permit, which will give you a little more flexibility.
And does this change any of sort of our either rules or practices on contracting in terms of getting other, whatever they might be, the insurance rules or the bidding rules or whatever?
No.
No. Okay.
All of those are still the same. So the town will still need to follow the procurement procedures in the municipal code for whatever type of service are being procured here, and the same limits for approval would still apply. In this case, though, the agreement will always come to you if it's authorizing some use that's over there.
And so my final question would be, if somebody was making a big investment not in a town property and wanted it to run, so-called run with the land or be part of that, do they have the option of saying, well, I'd really like a use permit just for my own protection?
Yeah, they could ask for one. It would
Okay.
still be in your discretion whether or not to approve it.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no more, Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. That's what I sense. I like the idea that we're proposing this because it gives the town more protection because we're not necessarily just talking about the Yountville Commons property, but we're talking about any public facility property. So anywhere in town where I think this amendment allows us to be more flexible to create contracts and as the town attorney said, not necessarily create a vested almost interest through a use permit. So I appreciate the work that staff and town attorney has done to help us protect the uses that we do at some point approve on any public facilities property in the town. So thank you.
And this will apply to this half of the site because there is split zoning over there still. So the field is parks and playfields and the structures are on public facilities.
So that was your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no more questions, I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anybody in the public, would you like to come up and make a comment on this change in our ordinance? Seeing nobody, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for a decision. I think this is important for us to do because it, in a way, it kind of outlines, although there's some generalities to it, it really, helps people, especially we have a whole new property, this is going to be a big change. It helps people, gives them some guidance of what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. So, because otherwise, the planning department might be bombarded, I imagine, sometimes with, what about this or what about this? So I think this will help at least provide some information to the public when they're interested in possibly bringing some use over there. So I'm in full support of this as well. Any other council member comments on this item?
I'd like to move.
Okay. Are you going to make a motion and waive the first reading?
Introduce and waive the first reading of ordinance 24-529, amending the municipal code in the PF zones.
And we have a motion, and would you like
Mayor, I'll second.
We'll make a second. You ready for our vote?
You may vote now. And that passes unanimously.
All right, so we just approved that change to Chapter 17 of our municipal code ordinance. Now we're going to move on to, we have 3 administrative items. The first one, we are going to consider adoption of a resolution which will adopt our first ever biennial budget for fiscal year 2024, 2025, and 25-26, and appropriation of GAN limits and salary ranges, investment policy, and long-term debt policy. So I'm going to turn it over to our finance director to lead us through a staff report on this item.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mayor and Town Council. So after starting the budget process back in December, gathering necessary data, and then sharing that information with the Town Council and the community at 2 public budget workshops, it is very exciting to present the town's first biennial budget for adoption today. This budget is a compilation of revenue and expenditure projections completed by various town staff, as well as guidance and specific direction from the Town Council. So just to highlight a few items from the staff report, it's worth mentioning that the general fund budget is balanced in both fiscal years. The biennial budget does include 1 new and 2 reinstated full-time positions to our current level of staff. The biennial budget reflects approved changes to the town's fund balance policy and the newly established general fund reserve, which is meeting the minimum requirement of 35% of general fund expenditures also in both fiscal years. And the capital improvement program includes budget for the Yountville Commons project for future planning related to the use of the property that the town recently acquired. We also wanted to point out some of the changes that were made subsequent to the budget workshops, which includes decreasing projected sales tax revenue in both fiscal years. And this was based on revised revenue estimates recently received from HDL, the town's sales tax auditing firm. Increasing a few smaller general fund revenues to more accurately reflect anticipated revenue based on current fiscal year collections, and changing the estimated expenditure in the current fiscal year for the Community Center Enhancement Project to accommodate costs that will be incurred prior to June 30, 2024. As a reminder of the new process for the biennial budget, we plan to bring forward mid-year budget adjustments for fiscal year 2024-2025 to the Town Council for review in January if needed. And we will also bring forward necessary adjustments for the projected fiscal year 2025-2026 budget around April or May of 2025 for Town Council to review and discuss. If adopted as presented today, we will produce a physical budget document that can be viewed by the public at town facilities. And we also publish an online budget book, which has a more modern look to it this year. And our financial analyst, Kyle Batista, will be providing an overview on how best to navigate the online budget book at the June 18th Town Council meeting. And with that, we welcome any questions the council may have.
All right, thank you very much. And just for the public to know that this is kind of a big item, but we've had multiple workshops on our budget. They were very engaging, and the council's had a lot of time to go over this. So this is really our final act today to make any last-minute changes or really to approval. So we don't really just approve a budget pretty quickly like this, so just wanted to give that background. So any questions from the council? Seeing nothing lit up, I will go to the public. Any public comment on our first biennial budget? Seeing nobody move forward, I'll bring it back to the council for final comments and consideration of a motion and a second. Councilmember Reeves.
Mayor, I just wanted to acknowledge the town manager and the staff for really stretching on this and allowing the council more leeway to do planning with this 2-year budget idea. And I think it will improve the ability of all of us to do our jobs better, and having more information on a continuous basis is always good. So I really want to express my appreciation to everybody who had to do a lot of extra work, not just a little extra work, to make this happen this year. Thank you.
Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to second Councilmember Reeves' comments to thank town manager, staff, directors for putting together, I think, a very useful budget process for the town of Yountville. I think going forward, the advantage that we have time in the second year to do strategic planning, and instead of going through the budget process again. And as I've known from my experiences in the past, well, there was always, and as the finance director said, there will always be opportunities to look at and adjust. But having the opportunity in a second year to focus on strategic planning, which also kind of leads into the next biennial budget, is an advantage for council, staff, and the community to be a part of that conversation. So thank you for all the work putting this together. It's a great step forward. Thank you.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion and provide a second?
I'd like to move adoption of resolution number 24-4270, adopting the biennial budget for fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26. I guess that's the motion.
That's,
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second. Let us know when we're ready.
May vote now.
All right, thank you.
And that passes unanimously.
Okay, great. So we've just approved our first ever two-year budget. Thank you very much, Celia, for leading this charge, and to town manager, too, for making this be our first. Let's move on to, we have our second administrative item, interim dog park design and policies for discussion, feedback, and possible approval. And it looks like our Parks and Rec Director, Samantha Holland, will lead us in this discussion.
Yes, just 1 second.
As soon as her iPad
Yes.
updates.
A little
Probably.
slow today. Good afternoon, Council. I'm before you this afternoon with an interim dog park design and policies for discussion, feedback, and potential approval. In the adopted Parks and Recreation Master Plan, a dog park was identified as a priority goal by the community in that process, and it had an unknown timeline in our estimate just based on site, not having a particular site. In the public process, it came up more than anything else. And so as part of the implementation of the master plan, we brought forward some ideas to the March 21st Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission meeting with several potential sites for a trial program which would allow off-leash hours in some of our parks, as well as a preliminary design for a dog run area at the south end of Veterans Memorial Park in the undeveloped lot. So we heard a lot of feedback from many residents as well as from the commissioners at that meeting. Feedback received from the community and the commission was that why aren't we looking at the school field, which would be a better site? And although some residents were supportive of the off-leash hours, many were not in favor for various reasons at the sites that were presented. So in the meantime, as you know, the town closed escrow on the school site, and we started to develop plans for potential interim uses. And in working with the consultants, staff drafted the attached design utilizing the northeast side of the existing field space. And the site would be improved using the existing amenities strategically, like the fencing and dugouts, and adding new removable fencing to create two secure areas with double gates. This would be considered an interim use. Nothing that would be installed would be permanent. Obviously, as the town goes through the long-range planning of the site, we want to make sure that anything we're placing or investing in the site isn't considered long-term at this point, and that we're being conscious of the investment costs going into it. So we did present this at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission meeting on Thursday of last week, and obviously your agenda was already in process, so those notes didn't end up there. But we did present it just as a discussion item. No action was taken for the commission to provide feedback, and then also for the community to be able to give public comment. We did receive 5 public comments total, some 2 in person and 3 via email. 4 in favor, 1 opposed to the prospect. The commission overall was very supportive of the idea. One commissioner did ask if we were be able to reorient the position of the field, of the dog park, and preserve the dugout and field area for potential use in the future. So before you this evening is this concept for this park, and do you want to pull up the photo? So as I mentioned, the design would utilize the existing dugouts and fencing. We're proposing 5 to 6 foot tall non-permanent fencing to be installed to contain the rest of the area. We would add in mutt mitt and trash stations, water access, double gated entry for safety, 2 fenced areas, which would be an active area and a passive area, which would provide space for different types of users, not based on size, but really based on the animal itself and their needs. We're proposing to leave the existing grass in place, and then as we move forward and we monitor the level of use in our rainy season, a lot of different elements, we would try to maintain what's there and then assess what we can do moving forward and if changes need to happen. Again, that comes back to the amount of investment we want to make in something that's considered interim, as well as just not knowing really the level of use that we're going to see during this period. We would also propose signage with rules and regulations posted at all entrances, and that would be in English and Spanish. So as you can see up on the screen, the active area would be the north side, and then the passive area slightly smaller and wider at the south end. There on the lower or mid-right side is the existing path that runs along that area, and then there to the north would be the parking lot at Hopper Creek Condos, just so you can orient yourself. So we would utilize the existing fencing that runs along both those perimeters and then connect it up so that it would be entirely enclosed. So also part of your staff report were some draft policies. So it included a little explanation of what a passive, what we would probably maybe call it, the passive pooch area, lower energy play, roaming, sniffing, socializing, and then active exercise area, high energy play, fetch, run, chase, play would be encouraged. We're proposing opening hours would be 8 a.m. to dusk. So unlike our parks in general, which are dawn to dusk, this would be treated similarly to our play courts, which is an 8 a.m. start to contain noise prior to that. Excessive barking would not be tolerated. Dogs would always have to be monitored by their owner. Dogs would need to be on leash when coming and going. Dogs must be under voice control. We wouldn't allow on-site grooming. Dogs must be healthy, licensed, 4 months or older, and currently vaccinated. No female dogs in heat, no smoking or vaping, as is not allowed in any of our parks, no glass. Children under 13 would need to be accompanied by an adult. Owners are responsible for the acts and conducts of their animals, and park users and dog owners assume all risk. We say that for safety of all dogs, immediately leash your dog if it exhibits aggressive behavior and leave the park area. You're required to clean up after your dog. Per state law, all dog bites must be reported to Napa County Animal Control, and then we would list the non-emergency numbers for non-emergency issues, and then, of course, 911. We feel like it's important to make sure that these are posted in English and Spanish. And so oversight and operations, so I've mentioned several times this is an interim use that we're proposing. It could potentially turn into a long-term use based on the long-range planning process of the site. But in the meantime, that we're suggesting we would assemble a citizen group which would assist us in monitoring, providing feedback, and assisting staff with planning and just day-to-day monitoring of the park. That would most likely, hopefully, be made up of people that are actively using the space. And then we would also, staff would gather information on ongoing maintenance and operations during this interim phase so that we can make future recommendations on improvements, whether that's in the shorter 2 to 3 year term of this interim phase or long term. If we were to see this come up on the long-term plan for the site, then obviously the town could then consider more substantial improvements to that specific amenity that would closer match what kind of our standard is for our parks and facilities. We would also track complaints all along the way and work closely with the Sheriff's Department, and then always looking at ongoing review of policies as needed if issues do arise. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and or if there's anything else I can provide.
All right, great. So just for the public that's here and listening, so first we will, I'm going to ask for council questions for Samantha or our town manager or maybe even our town attorney, and we'll have 2 rounds of questions for each council member. Then I will open it up, and anybody from the public who would like to come up and give us your comments. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes, and we'll have a clock up on the board so you can see how you're doing. And then once all the comments have been taken, we will bring it back, and the council will deliberate. So that will be the process. So let's start with the questions. Councilmember Reeves.
Thank you. I just have one basic question. When I'm looking at the site plan, I don't see any notation for maybe movable benches or something like that. Are we expecting people to bring their own chairs, or are we going to provide a couple of benches other than the backstop, right?
Yeah, so the dugout will have the covered seating, and then we do anticipate bringing in some picnic tables and benches around, hopefully the shaded perimeter for other areas. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Vice Mayor Tripp.
I have some comments, which I will wait on, but that was my question that Pam, Councilmember Reeves asked, and I fully endorse the idea of a picnic table or something like that.
Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Holland, for your report. So looking at the report, there's extensive rules, and thank you for presenting the idea of a steering group that can also be a secondary point where residents or citizens could speak with. But generally, as events, as people have their dogs there, as they're using the facility, who will be the first contact, and how will they get in, will they be in contact with Parks and Rec? Will there be a number on the site that they could call? What would be, other than obviously listing for emergencies, and would there be a number where they could leave comments for staff?
Yeah, absolutely. So Parks and Recreation number could be on there as well for comments and questions. But, if there's an issue happening, we do recommend people call the sheriff first because they're, depending on time of day, more easily accessible. But as far as just general comments or concerns or feedback, we could definitely list the Parks and Recreation number.
And I appreciate that. I think having an opportunity for people to take a number and leave a message, so knowing that someone would get back to them would be helpful. Thank you.
Councilmember McKee Camp.
Thank you. Would we be looking at the Citizen Steering Committee? Of course, we'll have a lot of dog fans wanting to step up and be part of that club to provide feedback, but can we open it up to maybe neighbors and people that are a little more reluctant to see this in the area, so they can give their honest and valuable feedback as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my vision, which you're obviously here to help me provide guidance to that, is, potentially a council member, a Parks and Recreation Advisory Commissioner, and then we just open it up for people to send in their interest and assemble a group. But whether or not you're on that steering committee, I think that similar to how we operate with pickleball, I get pretty much weekly feedback. And so what I do as well is bring that back to that group. So I don't want anyone to feel like your voice is not heard, whether or not you're officially on or part of the group. It's always there to be considered.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I have a question about one of the checklist items. While I think it is a great idea, it has to do with all dogs must be healthy, licensed, and over 4 months old and currently vaccinated. So the town doesn't issue a dog license, just the county does. What is the plan for education for people when they bring their dog, knowing that they really do need the county dog license? Will forms be available, or will there be a rollout of information about how you get that? I mean, it's a pretty simple form. They just need some, and it's, good. They ask for, rabies and other vaccinations, so that's always on file and good for everybody. It's a pretty small fee, like $25. So what's the plan for that item on how people who want to use the park know they need a dog license?
Yeah, so it would be on the sign, which is pretty standard. And I actually think, Gary might weigh in, I believe it's the state law, or at least county.
County Health and Safety Code.
Yeah, thank you, to register your dog. So we could definitely provide information there. I mean, I could look at a little thing that could hang on the fence with the pamphlets and information. We definitely could look for something to
maybe even a QR code or something.
Or a QR code, absolutely. Yeah, I think those are easily solvable. I did receive a question previously of, how would we even enforce that? And it really is, it would be treated similar to any rules in our parks. So we're not there actively enforcing, but we at least need to post what those laws and requirements are in the event that something did come up, that we have warned and made the public aware that it is a requirement. So,
Okay, thank you very much for that. Seeing no more comments, I am going to now open it up for the public that is here. So first I'll go to the town clerk. Did we receive any public comments by the deadline?
We received one public comment by the deadline of 4 p.m. yesterday, and that has been forwarded to council.
Okay.
Additional public comments received after yesterday's deadline will be included in the record, the agenda packet after the meeting.
All right, thank you very much for that. So now I have a feeling that you're probably not here to talk about the last item, but maybe this one. So who would like to come up first and address the council with your public comments? So come on up and get the microphone so you'll be on our videotape so everybody can hear you.
Okay.
And can you just move it so close to your mouth?
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. First, thank you for addressing this, because I'm a 30-year owner in this town, and there's not been a dog park in all that time, and been looking forward to this. So this is a big deal for me. And also, I love what's been suggested here, because it looks really good, well considered, thought out. I think the Citizens Committee is a good thing, because you do need to watch what's going on there and make sure that there's not being a lot of people scofflaws and people taking advantage of what's going to be hopefully a very nice park. Also, I think I've kind of somewhat of a voice for I would think there's as many dogs as there are full-time residents of this town. So when you look at that, I think the dogs need a voice, and so we citizens need to be their voice for that, because it's a great thing for dogs. I mean, we've been to many dog parks, St. Helena and Alston, and they just they're number one. You got to put your dog in a car, take them there. So there's trips up and down 29, so we reduce that kind of thing. And it's so good for dogs to be able to run around, get rid of their energy, just like a child. And then when they come home, they're quieter. They won't be barking maybe at neighbors and stuff like that. I think it's just a great idea all around. So thank you.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry, Ray Brogliati.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody like to go next? Lori, you'll have to move the mic down, I'm sure.
Bad.
Yeah.
Lori Cagwin, 11 Jasmine Street, Yountville. I've lived here 26 years. And I wear many hats for this discussion. I'm a landscape architect, so I have some questions about how the park is laid out. My boys played Little League Baseball, both of them, for probably 10 years. I have dogs, and I've thrown the ball for my Dobermans on that piece for years illegally, and they passed away. And my other two dogs, I could never get near a dog park. So there's several items I wanted to discuss. One is the appropriateness of putting a dog park in our only athletic field in Yountville. In the past, both fields were used. They both have dugouts, backstops, fencing, irrigated turf, infields, outfields, and the south portion of it has Thomas Keller's snack bar, which was no cheap item, or a very well designed item and supported by the public. I would find it difficult to support a dog park in this athletic area because Little League is active. I walk by every day, there's a game. Every afternoon there's a game. It goes for about 3 months, and then they probably have a fall league also. And the upper field was used for the smaller children when my children were little, and they also use it for baseball practice. So I think removing that portion of activity for people that enjoy sports and children in our community, not necessarily in Yountville, but who come into Yountville and play. And there are children that still live here in Yountville. There's a few left, and they sure enjoy it. And every day I walk by, and they're doing the national anthem, and their cries of joy, and it's a really Americana deal. Dog parks aren't for every dog. They can be dangerous for dogs that attack other dogs. And they're very hard to manage if you have owners that are not watching their dogs. This particular layout, I don't understand why it's notched or how it ends. I designed one dog park for Oakmont a few years ago, and they had recommended at least 3/4 of an acre. And I don't know what this square footage is, but I don't think it's 3/4 of an acre. There's also a lot of safety concerns that have to be well planned and well thought out. And there are people that specialize in designing these parks. So it's minimalistic, to say the least, the way it's located. I think the rules are important, and those are well thought out, but I can't support the location of it or in reducing the opportunity for a sports field that could really be renovated and made something very special and well used in our community. Oh, I have a minute left. What else? So the reason I'm here and the reason I didn't send a letter is Jason has been managing our Little League and doing a wonderful job with it. Hasn't had a lot of support, but he has, and he will discuss with you about a group that would be interested in renting out that field and paying rental fees to be able to bring opportunity into our community by bringing in more sports and more community-based activities. Dog parks seemed like a great place for people to socialize. I'm not sure how exciting it is for the dogs. My dogs, I would never bring to a dog park for the reasons I mentioned. It's also very hot there. There isn't a lot of shade. There's a lot of oak trees that drop acorns, which are poisonous to dogs. So I'm just not happy with this location or the reduced use of this athletic field, which is one of our amenities. Although I do think a dog park is a great idea for some people, but not in this location. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lori. So, Town Manager, should we take all the public comment, then you can address questions, or would you like to do them one at a time? Okay, we'll do that. Okay. Who else would like to come and address the council on this item?
Hi, Ann Griffin, and I'm really here speaking on behalf of my two grandsons, my daughter and son-in-law, who have been very active in the Yountville Little League. They're actually at work right now, and the kids are just getting out of school, so they can't be here. I wanted them to be here, but I would have had to take them out of school. So the boys have just fallen in love with baseball. My youngest grandson, Jackson, eats, breathes, and sleeps baseball. He just loves it so much. And the fact that they're right here, you know, they live on Holly Street, and they can walk to the park if they need to. And Jeff is one of the coaches, my son-in-law. They've just really fallen in love with the whole baseball experience here, which is similar to what we did when we were raising our kids. My daughter Katie, who is his wife, grew up with us starting a Little League, and so I was reading a note from Adam Housley, who is very active in the Napa Little League, and he was saying that 84 kids in Napa were turned away because they couldn't play. So there's fewer places. They didn't have enough fields. there's fewer places for kids. So our kids here can't even go there because there's not room. They're going to reject, they're going to tell them, sorry, you're on a waiting list, or you just have to wait until there's room. So I just hate to see them lose any existing facility. And yes, the younger kids do use that field, that north field, for their practices. When our guys are practicing, our older kids are practicing on the south field, they can't play at the same time on the same field. And there's kind of a limited amount of time in a day, definitely in a weekday, during the week when kids can play, because they're in school most of the day. Then they get home, they got to get ready for baseball, and the coaches got to get home from work and everything. So it's kind of a, 5 o'clock thing, 5:30. And there really is an opportunity to have two games, back to back, maybe one starting earlier and one later, because this just gets too late and then it's too dark. So I like to see the existing situation stay there. And, we've been very supportive of coming to these events. I love it every year when the Little League gets to ride on the float, in the Yountville Days Parade. It's so much fun. And I know that, the town has lots of needs, but they have children here. There's children that live here, and they want to be able to have a place to play and not have to drive to another town just to, be able to have a field. Anyway, so thank you very much, and I hope you'll consider our requests and our concerns.
Thank you very much. Just come on up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Walker Bass. I'm a resident and homeowner at Hopper Creek Condos. Here to express my strong objection to this plan for multiple reasons. I think the points that have been made before are very accurate. I didn't know about the acorns. That's a serious problem. The field of play obviously is very important as well. So I think the points made prior are very important. We're aware of the strong resistance to other sites that have been named around the city of Yountville, and those were rejected, and we feel the very same way. This is presented as a major benefit, but we really see it more as a solution looking for a problem. And if there is going to be a dog park, I guess my question is, why wouldn't it be in the middle of this large plot of land where there are trees over there as well? I took a walk through again this morning. Why does it have to be in the corner right next to us? It's not next to the parking area. It's actually next to residences. So that's inaccurate. The proposal explicitly encourages hyperactive dogs, which for us would create a lot of potential barking and noise, and really creating a quality of life and serenity issue, frankly, for all the residents at Hopper Creek. The pool is right there next to that. So again, with this large plot of land, is there a way to do it more in the middle of the property where maybe the sound would be abated throughout the property and the two ball fields may not be impacted as much? Again, I don't have the full map, but there is a lot of room in the middle of the property, especially given that it's going to be theoretically temporary. Even your own proposal, number 2 rule is no excessive barking, which I've never been able to tell a dog not to bark. I don't know who can communicate with dogs, but that was very odd to me that there's a no excessive barking rule. How do you enforce that? Also, the proposal is 8 a.m. to dusk every single day, which is totally unfair to residents who live and work and try to have phone calls during the day. Literally 100 feet from that location. So I think it's totally unfair to have it 8 a.m. to dusk every single day. In the summer, you're talking about 12 hours a day of potential dogs barking all day long. It's kind of a nightmare scenario. Do we not have a right to peace and quiet? Some people live literally 100 feet from this location. I would also note that the town of Yountville had the courage to ban gas-powered leaf blowers, thankfully, over quality of life issues, and this really is no different the way I see it. This is directly counter to that philosophy of trying to have serenity and quiet. We also believe the proposal ignores other detriments, including bacterial waste. When we've read some other reports from San Mateo and other studies that talk about bacterial waste, which is a little bit concerning given it's right next to Hopper Creek. Has this been considered at all? Haven't heard any comments about that. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. We're fundamentally opposed to this in this location, particularly. And I would end with, while we love animals, we prefer the singing of frogs to the barking of dogs. So, and it's really wonderful in the creek, as you probably know, at night. So I would encourage maybe a relocation to the middle or respect to the two ball fields, because it is really quite adjacent to many, many homeowners right there at Hopper Creek. Thanks for the consideration.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, Counsel. Thank you for your time. My name is Jason Hutchings. I've been a resident here in town on Mulberry Street since 2005. I've also been the president of Yountville Little League from 2018 up until just before this season. And I just wanted to share with you a couple things regarding this site. I've spent a good amount of 6 years out there with my own bare hands working out there, and I just wanted to share a couple things with you. As far as use of that North Diamond, our young teams do practice out there. Even the older teams practice out there occasionally. If the younger kids have a game closer to the concession stand, the older kids will practice out there. So that field is in use as a practice facility right now. The reason we're not using it for games is because the school district has commercial grade locks on the dugouts, so we don't have access to those dugouts. And there's also I've replaced the sprinkler heads on that North Diamond out there just to find that there's a leak in a valve in a box that's just behind the backstop there. Every time I turn the sprinklers on, that valve box floods. And from talking to the school district, the way to do that repair, I'd have to shut the water off, according to them, to the whole campus. And I'm not authorized to do that, and I don't want to do anything clandestinely. I want to be above board on everything. I think this is a beautiful place for the kids. I know this building here we're in was a school built in 1921 and was used up till the 50s. And so I can only imagine that baseball has been played out there for 100 years, just about. And I know the Little League has been around for 60-plus years, sometime around when the new school, or that school, was built. And so, to me, this school, this site, it is sacred, and it should be designated for youth sports. That was the intention of whether it was donated or bought. But the infrastructure is there for a baseball field. It is a baseball field. Those are dugouts, not dogouts. I love dogs. I just built a ramp in my mom's backyard so her 12-year-old black Labrador can get in and out of the house with ease here in his golden years. I have nothing against dogs or dog owners or even a dog park per se. In fact, I think a better site in town for a dog park would be the space behind the tennis courts, between the tennis courts and the flood wall there in Vineyard Park. I think that'd be an ideal location for a dog park. It's a world-class view right there. That park really is a destination for dog owners as it is. So as a solution to any, as an alternative to this, I think that'd be a great place. As Lori mentioned, I've reached out this past year to youth sports organizations, and I've actually been awarded a charter in order to use this field, if hopefully it stays a baseball field, and bring in more kids here into the community. I think there is a drought of children right now. I mean, there are kids still here in town that want to use this space. When the school was open, and I feel for people if they have to drive their dogs 10 miles down to a dog park. I'd hate to do that if I had a dog, because I have to already drive my kid 10 miles down the road to go to school every day. And so I feel your pain on that. But I just wanted to close that this is a baseball field. And with just a small amount of sprucing up, again, access to the dugouts, fixing that irrigation system, and that grass would be green right now. I've had interest from local teams and organizations that would like to utilize this field and get the sound of children here in town again. And not just baseball. I've reached in the process of applying with NorCal Rugby to see if we can get a rugby program here, a youth rugby program. They're the governing body for rugby in Northern California. And so I'm in the process of registering with them. And again, I strongly oppose a dog park on any part of the playing fields out here. Baseball needs space to play. And like I said, sometimes there's games and the other teams need to practice. They need that space. They need both spaces. So, again, please, as a resident, I'm just afraid of what this town's image really is going to become as we progress the next few years. I mean, are we going to be a town that chases kids off of playing fields with dogs? I hope not. I don't want to think that of my neighbors and of my elected officials. I'd like to think that they want what's best for my kids. And so I just really appreciate the work you guys do. And I just, in finale here, I'd like to hopefully request some sort of motion to postpone any approval on this until other groups can offer some proposals about how to better use this for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council?
Short. My name is Elaine Bryant.
You might want to get down a little bit more so we can get you on tape.
Is that better?
Yes.
Well, as spoken earlier, the number one item requested by the citizens of this town, people who live here, not people who come in and use our parks or use whatever. The people who live here, the number one item they wanted is a dog park. That's a bunch of people. Now, I think you can do a lot of things with the dog park to allow it to be only for residents. There's so many ways you could control that. You could also have the license on a key card to get in and out. Dog license, resident of the town, blah, blah, blah. If you can find another place in this town for a dog park, terrific. But this is very underutilized property. We walk by there constantly and never see it being used. And we go to a lot of dog parks. There is not much barking. It's pretty amazing. The dogs run and play. They don't bark at each other. The people might talk loudly, but the dogs are very well behaved typically. So I plead with you, get us a dog park in this town because the citizens want it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I don't see, is anybody, one last opportunity to come and address the council? Seeing nobody, I am going to ask our town manager. We had some questions here, made some notes. Would you like to address any of the questions?
Well, I think through the chair, we're happy to respond to any questions you'd like us to address.
Okay, we'll do that then. All right, thank you very much. So I am going to bring this item back to council. We'll have 2 rounds of comments, and then we'll decide if we want to vote on anything at that time based on everyone's comments. So with that, I will start with Councilmember Reeves.
Maybe I can make my comments through questions, actually. Can you just verify that nothing is happening to the south ball field, right? There is no plan to remove or alter right now that ballpark.
That is correct.
And this dog park is a pilot program, meaning it has a presumed lifespan that's not forever.
Yeah, that's why we call it interim. I think that, as you know, and I've at least explained that we're going to, over the next year, be engaging the community on the long-range plans. Now, defining long-range versus interim is just a question of resources and time, but I think mainly, and I will point out that part of the rationale for the design was to integrate the existing fences and dugouts, et cetera, so that options are available as we talk long range. So, I think we're also looking at, in terms of fencing, how fencing can even be set up temporarily so that it can be adjusted as the community chimes in, throughout the outreach process.
And ultimately, in the development of that property, because we used funds for affordable workforce housing, there will be housing on that lot somewhere, right?
Yes.
So in order to preserve the ball field, which is at the south part of that property, then the logical place is where we're looking at for the dog park area and then some. And then the dog park will be relocated or incorporated into that plan, right?
Well, again, I think this is the process, right? I don't want to say what's going to be part of the long-range plan because I think that sort of, short circuits the process. But you are correct that Measure S funds were used, which were required to be used for workforce housing and services. But, when we did the open house prior to the close of escrow, we as a organizing principle, we divided the site into quadrants and we talked about housing in that quadrant. And some of the feedback we got was, we don't want it in that quadrant. We want it somewhere else. So I do want to respect the people that are opposed to that, because I think that becomes the question that needs to sort of unfold through this outreach process that is not making, presumptions at the front. So I just want to be careful of saying yes, because if the dog park, for whatever reason, the community says, it was a good try, but it didn't work, we prefer this, I don't also want to make the presumption that a dog park has to be part of the long-range plan. Okay. I think we're hoping it will work, and if it does, it's obviously natural that it will continue. But those are things that you have to be mindful of as you launch a process that is, intended to give everyone a voice.
Okay, maybe my comments then. One of the big parts of this idea is to provide recreational opportunities for all of our residents. And I feel like we need to share in this town. We have limited property available for our community activities. And one of the other issues brought up was the barking. And as a former dog owner, I don't think that barking is necessarily a given in a dog park, because dogs that run free don't feel the need to bark. It's only when they're restrained that they feel the need to bark. So dogs on leashes behave very differently than dogs who are free to investigate other dogs. So, yes, there could be altercations between dogs, but that's part of the idea of the citizens group of dog owners who are in charge of kind of monitoring and trying to make sure that everybody is working with the rules. I feel like the proposal that is before us is quite reasonable as far as the amount of space for now, and only by utilizing it will we be able to know whether or not it's the right fit or the right amount. And I think having that ability to move the fences and do interim ideas is a great option. And I feel like we will be providing places for young people to play baseball. We have a field, and we are not talking about that field in this idea. It will remain until we work out whatever final plan there is. And I don't feel like it's an unreasonable idea and initiative for dog owners. And I think I would also like to remind you that we had a consultant come to our town to give us ideas on our Envision Yountville General Plan update. And one of the things he said was that thank all the dog owners in your town, because they are one of the enforcement sectors where they are random walkers that patrol the community at odd times, so that there's not so much opportunity for mischief in town. So I think we ought to think about that, as well as the fact that there are a lot of dog owners in town, that they serve a really important function as well.
Vice Mayor Tripp.
I think there's two issues operating here. One is, does Yountville need a dog park? And the other is, where should it be located? And I'm very passionate about the dog park, and I would like to just quickly explain, as an elected official, why I'm so passionate about the dog park. It is, I understand the concerns about baseball, so where to put it is kind of a separate issue. I would have actually been personally happy with it down by the bocce ball courts, but that's come and gone, and now we own this property. And having invested the money, we really do need to represent the public interest. And as I step back, I'm almost sometimes befuddled about the resistance to this dog park idea. So I'm not going to speak a lot about the location, although I would note that we did have a school there with bells and cars and kids. And then even after the school left, we had a pretty active child care center there that I heard a lot of happy voices from. And then, of course, people have gotten noise in the past from youth sports. So it's not exactly been a total quiet zone there. And I do, in my experience, know that, and I think people in Yountville, more than most places, are pretty clear rule followers. So I just want to speak as a public official. It's sort of hard to believe we're still debating whether we need a dog park. Everything that comes out nowadays, and Yountville is big on the blue zones. I mean, we've gone to great lengths to support public health, eating better, exercising. And I just happened to pull up from the Harvard Medical School this statement: a growing body of solid research shows that owning a dog can provide companionship, help you more active, improves the lives of older adults, makes you more social and less isolated. Then it goes on to say, and this is Harvard Medical School, dog owners have lower blood pressure, healthier cholesterol, and a lower risk of heart disease. And so you might say, well, you don't need a dog park to own a dog. Well, you don't really need to have blue zones either to support and educate. But it's good for the community, and it's definitely good for community health to support this idea of dogs and dog ownership. There's just no question about that. So it's a good public health plan, which Yountville definitely supports. And we also do support, in general, great recreational facilities. I've spent a lot of time at least two of the play parks. Huge number of people use it, both within and primarily outside of the community, for their children. And we've invested large amounts of money in having really state-of-the-art playgrounds. So I know Yountville believes in having amenities that support the community. And then when we get down to the specifics of community need, apart from the fact that when you walk around here, you see so many people with dogs, We did design a master plan, which Samantha did a good job. We hired a consultant. We went through a lot of process. And as I recall, it was the most commented on community need, and about 30% of the people who participated in the master plan wanted a dog park. We put it in the master plan, so that is a guiding principle. There's no point in going through that whole process and then saying, well, whatever, we'll just kind of ignore it. And then and things have changed since we acquired the site. We wouldn't even be having this discussion if it had been sold to a developer. You know, the fact we're even having baseball versus dogs is because of having the community spent the money for it, and those are the people living here. And so we went through a process, although brief at the time, again, a well-designed process where Brad asked people to prioritize what they wanted. And I think just roughly speaking, about 30% of what people who specifically identified something, again, it was a dog park. And then people are probably wondering why I've been so passionate about this. It's not exactly because I want to use a dog park. But I will say in my personal experience, I lived in a community. At the time, I had a large German Shepherd and a little tiny mutt, and I lived in a condo. And the dog park became, and it was mostly retired people, a huge socialization place. The German Shepherd chased the ball. The other little dog doesn't really like other dogs, but would wander around and get petted. But most importantly, there was a number of people who showed up almost every afternoon just to chat with someone and to hang out with their dogs. And the other use it served, and why I got into hanging out at the dog park, is I broke my toe and I could no longer walk the dog. And so in a community of a large number of older citizens who may or may not want to hire dog walkers, the ability to have a place where you can go and get your dog some fresh air without being able to walk them can be really, really important. So I really want to, we talk so much about building community in Yountville, and here we have at least half the community who has a dog and would probably show up. And it's a community-based activity, and it really, those of us who've been and visited dog parks know that. And actually, I think visitors like dog parks. I can think of several hotels that I've stayed in where one of the reasons I stayed there is there's a dog park close by. So I think it would be something that would be used by both residents and visitors. And I think that this probably is the best place to site it temporarily, but I really do think it's incumbent on us to pay attention to all the process we've been through that identified a dog park as an important need for the community. And then I understand it's interim, but I surely hope that we have nothing but the best of public facilities in Yountville. And so being as passionate as I am for public health and community building and dogs about a dog park, it sort of strikes me a little odd that we may be designing something that looks sort of like a prison with no furniture. And I understand it's interim, but I hope we go into this with a desire to make an attractive amenity, because it just seems really something wrong with the picture that here in a community that invests so much, I mean, to quiet down the pickleball courts, I think we spent $30,000 or something. We have a whole I don't even know what you call it, group of outdoor equipment that I don't see anybody use. But I'm glad it's there because somebody might use it. We invest so much, and yet we are arguing about an amenity that since I've been here, I can't say more people were pretty clear on what they wanted. So putting aside the location issue, I really do believe it is time for Yountville to move ahead on a dog park. So thank you for listening.
Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just maybe just before my initial comment, just a couple of quick questions again to Director Holland. Was there input at the Parks and Rec Commission about some of the same information that we heard tonight, or?
They received the same presentation.
Okay.
And I gave you a little bit of information at the beginning as far as public comment, and then the input from the commissioners. All were in attendance. All were 4 out of the 5 were very much in favor of it. The 5th was interested in seeing if there was the ability to redesign where the layout of it was, but not necessarily opposed to it being on the site.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, do you have a general sense, and I do want to note that I did receive a call earlier today from Jason Hutchins, and we talked a little bit about this proposal, but do you have a general sense in the last maybe 4 to 5 years how many months out of the year that of the ball fields are used in terms of just maybe our just planning too? Is it 3 months out of the 12 that they're used? Do we have a general sense in terms of team play there, or?
I mean, it wasn't in our purview, so I'm not exactly sure, but I would think that they would always, pretty much always have a spring league, and that's 3 months, I believe. And I think sometimes there would be a fall league, but not consistently. And I don't, but again, I don't have firm data. It wasn't our facility at that point. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience in terms of Kiwanis helping with the opening day breakfast. That we were always working. There was some spring event baseball there. So I think what I believe was a strong point of us of moving forward with this dog park, and I do support the dog park for all the comments the other council members have made. But I think what's important to note is first that this is an interim use, and we all hope that at some point we will find out that if this is very, very popular, the reality is it is an interim use, and at some point we also recognize the importance of having to build workforce and affordable housing in this community. And so this may become a very, very successful interim use, in which that'll be a problem for a future council to figure out. But I think one of the advantages of what's been proposed so far is that, second, that there'll be temporary fencing, and that temporary fencing will allow for flexibility. The rules are extensive, and I think at some point proposing and having a steering group, I don't know if it would be an ad hoc or something, and an opportunity for residents to meet and speak about the issues will be important for overview of the use. And I also, from my experience, have found that in the last 3 months being really introduced to a very robust community of resident dog owners and other Napa Valley residents that come to Yountville to walk in our community, that we will hear from them and we will find out how the community of walking dog owners in this community use this location, and whether, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, there may be some that need to use it because they can't walk but want to get out and exercise their dogs. So what I see the advantage of this site and location is the flexibility and the temporary fencing. What we look at here in terms of the drawing is the map area really only goes to a point where part of the baseball dugout is, but that field is very large. And I understand the concerns of some residents about it being up against Hopper Creek condominium, but that area. But there's also that chain link fencing and concrete wall that runs north to south that separates this ball field area from that upper playground area where there's a wall and fencing. And so there's always opportunities maybe in the future, as we see how this works, to move the park area around and move it more farther south, or just generally an opportunity to see how this works in the short term and make adjustments. So I support this. I think it's been very clear to the community that people want a dog park, and I think this provides the first opportunity to try this out, and to also have the flexibility, because of that large area, not to affect the current Kaneshiro field, but to possibly move it around in the rest of that area. That I think we should move forward and give it a try and put effort into it, and because I think residents want it to succeed. And the good news is that we will hear from the community either at this council or through the steering committee how it's working, and we can make adjustments. So I support this decision today.
Councilmember McKee Camp.
So there is no doubt that having a dog park has been a number one priority for the residents, and the fact is that Yountville is built out. I know personally that there are dog owners here on the council. I have a little one that also would not go into a dog play area. He would just look at me like, "What are you doing, leaving me in jail for?" But I also know that there's grandchildren and children, that we have that we've grown up watching, or we enjoy watching them grow up and play baseball. So this is a passionate issue on both sides. Probably one of the first hard ones that I've been involved with since being on the council. My take on it is, because we are built out, because we extensively looked at other park areas that were not going to work for parking areas for accessibility. This is a central location. There is still a ball field for the children to play. I do have a question. I should know this, but I don't walk down here at night. Are there lights for the existing Canashiro field? No. Okay. So at right now, the sunset is approximately 9 o'clock, so it's dark for kids to play at that time. Because that map did cut off midway through the field, I mean, is there an area possibly, I suspect there is, where we could do some kind of t-ball and some kind of practice area for children to still be able to use part of that field while the summer lights are there. I feel like we could look at creative ways at offering concessions. We don't want to take space from kids, but we also do have a community that wants a place for their dogs to play. And actually, Vice Mayor Tripp brought up a good idea. A personal friend broke a hip just this last week walking her dog. So it is important that we have safe spaces for our residents to let their dogs play and expend their energy. I don't know, also as a concession, I'm the one right in the middle trying to find concessions, is maybe during midday we could look at quiet hours and specific to the residents. I do feel like the community here is small enough that we know our neighbors and we care for each other. So I do feel like if you say, no barking, yes, sometimes dogs are going to roughhouse and you might hear some growling, but I don't see that the community here is going to put their dog in the pen, walk away, and sit on a picnic table and just let it bark. So my point is, I think our residents are respectful. I think there's still space in the field for kids to have some kind of a formal practice area. I can't propose that we put in lights. That's not in the budget right now. But during summer, there is time. I grew up on the Sparrows and playing baseball all summer long. There are time for back-to-back games. Practice doesn't require a dugout, and it does seem like the dugouts that were there have been locked since 2024, and this is the first, that we're able to utilize them and open them. And at this point in time, it seems the most sensible and the most prudent that we open that field for the design as it stands, but try to find amends to give kids a place still to play in that area.
All right. Sorry. Thank you. Nope, that's quite all right. So I think all the comments from the council are very thoughtful, so I thank everybody for that. And, purchasing this 6.8 acre property, which we're now calling Yountville Commons, has really changed the entire landscape of Yountville for decades. I don't think we've ever had anything that is probably going to have a bigger impact on the community. I'm very happy that we were finally able to get there. It will be a long process to see, what is going to, all turn out to be probably, decades from now before, things are more settled. Because right now, we're just in that, what we're calling the initial phase. So that means, like, let's, try this or get something in here versus an interim phase, which will be a little, that's when we're all going to grow up a little bit more as a community and as a council and really be able to give things a lot more thought, a lot more input, and then, then there'll be more final activity. Don't know when all that is going to be complete. We're not going to issue a timeline because if we did, we'd be wrong, I'm sure. So, with that said, my philosophy has always been to say yes. Yountville to me begins with Y, and let's give it a yes. And what is so, I think the beauty of this is that it is an interim use. And as I just said, we're not giving that a timeline. Who knows? This thing could be the greatest thing we ever did, or it could blow up quickly. Don't know, but we've got enough plans in place to kind of look at this. And this is, as we just kind of passed the change to our ordinance, this is part of a public facility. Public is not just Yountville residents. Public is the public. We go, as some people mentioned, to the St. Helena Dog Park or the Alston Park. Those are, in the city of Napa or St. Helena, so this will be public. And I believe the town attorney would tell me that's probably state law as well, that public is public. So back to probably, it's interesting, the town council, we spent a lot of time working on budgets and just a whole laundry list of looking at ordinances and zoning codes and, public planning, but there's probably two items that are the most interesting and controversial in town. You talk about a dog park or you talk about a pool, and you'll get people on both sides of that issue. Probably over the last, 15, maybe 18 years, we've had 3 major attempts, this one being the third, at a dog park. At one, we got pretty close. We had a really good group of people. We identified they were going to be permanent sites, not an interim temporary site. We got a little bus together. We drove everybody around. We looked at all the sites. Nobody could agree on any of them. And so that we gave it our best shot. It went nowhere. So this is going, I think, as we've all kind of mentioned, this is going to be an interim use. Again, we don't know what the time is. We have a whole laundry list of things that are going to kind of be there. And we're going to have this citizen committee. And as I kind of mentioned, people are going to need, to have license for their dogs. And we're going to find out if dogs bark a lot. And, maybe no one will even show up at this park. And maybe it'll be so crowded we're, going to have to figure out something else. Right now we've got it designed to have a passive and active use area. I'm not going to be surprised if, someday that really turns into small dogs and large dogs. We don't know. But we're all going to kind of be in this together and kind of see. And, I think we've definitely all understand that these fields are not going anywhere at this time. And I've also mentioned decades from now, who knows what's really going to be, what this whole new Yountville Commons is going to look like. But it will have affordable housing because we use affordable housing money to purchase a third of this land. So when and where and how, to be determined. So with that, I'm going to maintain I'm always the first one to say yes until I have to say no, and I can say no when I have to say no, too. So let's just kind of see how it goes and give it an opportunity here. And I think that I'm kind of fine with the, I don't think we need to add anything to this list. We might, once we really kind of, get the fence up and hang out we're open for business sign, and we kind of see what happens. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments who, I just want to thank profusely anybody who wants to sign up for the citizen committee. Thank you very much for doing that. But it's that's who we're going to probably, be the people who really kind of police this and make it happen and suggest the changes. So that's the time to see, if you're right or wrong about your comments. I know I've always thought, oh, this is going to happen, and lo and behold, it never did. And things I didn't think of, by golly, they do happen. So we're going to just, that's where I really think that we are right now is, let's give it that chance and make sure that this is an interim use and try things out. So with that, does staff have clear direction where we are? Would you like us to make a motion that I haven't heard any major changes, kind of approve the what staff has outlined? I'll go ahead since I'm still talking to make that.
There is a resolution, so we would like you to adopt it.
Okay, do you want to go with that? Okay.
2 items I can offer, and anything Sam wants to add on. But one, we have said publicly, and we are committed to getting a schedule out for the outreach process by the end of June. And so that will include kind of, a lot of steps where people can come in and talk about the future, and obviously the dog park can be part of that conversation. So we intend to get a schedule out, which will in essence be for next fiscal year, which starts July 1. So through June 30th, we'll talk about that process. And then, I just want to be clear, and I think that sometimes words mean different things to different people, but I know at least when Sam and I were talking about what's being referred to as the citizen committee or the steering committee, and there's been the word committee used a lot. So at least our intent as a starting point, I prefer the word liaison because I think what's happening at the pickleball courts, which, and I think they do call themselves a steering committee out there, but they're not a committee in the sense that you appoint them. They don't have bylaws. They don't vote. They're just a group of well-meaning citizens that communicate through Sam about, what issues we maybe need to address at the pickleball courts. So I would call those liaisons. Okay. And I don't want to, at least out of the gates, try to get into creating a committee. That could be a future step if the need be. And you're also familiar with how bocce works, and they're like a club, and they do have, I think, some formal officers and organization. So there's different versions of that, but let's, at least if you agree, start with the idea that we're going to have a group of citizens that will act as liaisons for the interim dog park.
Sam, would you like to make some additional comments?
No. I think that was pretty comprehensive.
No.
There is not a resolution, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, yeah.
But my thing is having a hard time loading, but it really was just approving the plan.
Oh, I'm looking at the next item. Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm on to the next.
Hold that thought. We will get to the last item pretty soon. All right. So with that, I will just make a motion that we begin our first experiment in Yountville's first dog park is with the parameters outlined in the staff report today.
I'll second.
All right. Would you like us to hit our buttons?
Yes, please.
All right.
And that item passes unanimously.
All right. And thank you to the whole, everybody who took their time out of their day to come and give us public comments. I know that the council listened very closely to everything you had to say and considered everything in our decision. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to stay for our next to last item, you may, or you can take this opportunity if you'd like to scoot on out. So with that, we are going to move on to our third administrative item, which is considering adoption of a resolution approving an employment agreement and ratifying the appointment of Hillary Getty as our communication director / town clerk. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yeah, thank you. This is the resolution I was looking at, so I apologize about that last item. But I'm proud to bring this item forward. Obviously, everyone knows Hillary Getty, who was previously, is currently our acting town clerk, is currently in the position of deputy town clerk / records manager. And when our town clerk, Eddie Gomez, resigned to take another position, it provided an opportunity to rethink the organization. And I will start with, I think in local government, it's fairly typical for a town clerk to be part of the executive team. I'm accustomed to that, and I think most of the managers I talk to are accustomed to that. But on top of that, when I got here, one of the things I heard from all five of you that was clear was that we needed to improve communications and transparency and make sure that the work that we do as government is done. We always use efficiently and effectively. Those are the two words that seem to get used. But I think also just, passionately, and I think that's part of the reason I'm happy to bring this forward. And so the opportunity to create a new executive position, which is the communications director / town clerk, to me was a decision that was based on all the feedback that I heard, almost immediately. But I think also providing the opportunity to promote someone who is, has attention for detail, is proactive, is working, on both things, and you're seeing the communication side, I think, improve. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, the clerking thing, which I've learned to respect over the years, is very much a behind the scenes job. And being able to do both, I want to thank you because you've definitely kept the ship afloat and moving forward. But, I think the idea of having a department and then having, the staffing model that was approved in the budget, which not only includes this new position now, but also includes the deputy clerk as a records manager and also integrates a marketing specialist and our IT, Jason, who, I'm not sure his formal title, but everyone knows Jason, our IT manager. So having that group work as a team, we only have two of them here now. We're going to have to work to recruit the other two. Will only take us to the next level. So I'm, again, proud to bring this forward and thankful to Hillary for her service.
All right. So with that, do we have any questions from the council?
Just one other bit.
Yes. Town attorney.
Just one other bit of information. The oral report required by the Brown Act on salary and benefits. The agreement provides for a base salary of $144,083.64 and leaves and benefits, including retirement, in line with other department heads employed by the town.
Thank you for that, keeping us legal on that information. I see no questions by any council member. Oh, council member now. Knight. You have a question?
Not questions. You've just seen since you've been here, your professionalism and the work you've done has improved the communication with the community. We're looking forward to that and expect that. So we appreciate you taking on this position as communication director and town clerk. And so I think the town is going to benefit from the combination of those jobs, letting the community know about what's happening at town council, running everything that a town clerk does, and communicating with them. So thank you.
Councilmember Reeves.
I just want to town residents asked for all of that within communication, but mostly honesty and integrity. And we all rely on the organization and the level of attention to detail. So I heartily support this promotion as well.
Vice Mayor Tripp.
Yes, I would like to say I also heartily support this promotion, and not just because Ms. Gady has the right name. When I think about what really helps me as a town council member, and I've been meditating on this a little bit, is frequently I don't even know what to ask for. And to work with someone who steps back and says, well, what does Council Member Tripp, what is she looking for, and what what would help her get to the issue. And what I really appreciate about working with now Director Gady is she frequently will go that extra step and send me information that will actually, that I might not have even known I needed, but will get to the issue that she knows I'm looking at. And that's hugely helpful to a council member because we're working with staff who know a heck of a lot more than we do, and you can see what we're looking for, and so it's just so nice, or you can guess what we're trying to figure out for someone who goes beyond just answering the exact question to thinking through what would help the council member figure out what they're looking for. And so that is one of the reasons apart from abilities, the attitude has been enormously helpful to me. And so in that way, I feel the promotion is really well deserved. So I really look forward to working with you in your new role.
I'm also in full support of this. It's since Hillary is sitting right here, I can just kind of look at her. But it's really, I think it's really great that our town manager, formed this department. It's very interesting because you've got town clerk, which is kind of behind the scenes unless you're running for election, and then you get more information than you ever thought you probably needed behind the scenes. Going through all these staff reports, putting together, all of our agendas, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that nobody ever sees. And then communication director, that's when you pop out from behind the scenes. And I just ran into somebody, a few weeks ago. It's just like, they were talking about First Wednesdays, what's going on over there. And, I explained to them, they go, how, we didn't know about this. And, oh, man, all of a sudden I could rattle off. It was in the Yountville Connection. It was on Facebook. It was, posted on Nextdoor, on. And they just, walked away and said thanks. It's like how many times, places, like anything we can think of, the information's going out. So all that is great. And so before we pass a resolution, just thanks everybody. I think this is a great change, and we have the right person. So,
thank you very much.
So with that, let's see. I did call for public comment, so we can check that box. Would anybody like to? We do have a resolution. Make a motion, Councilmember Reeves.
I move we approve resolution number 24-4271. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Yountville approving employment agreement for and ratifying the appointment of Hillary Gady as the Communications Director / Town Clerk.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. We're going to hit the buttons. I'm kind
You
of
may vote now.
Unanimous vote, I bet. Let's see.
And that passes unanimously.
All right. Congratulations once again. All right. Do we have any staff presentation or informational reports today?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. I just wanted to thank you for your comments about Art Sip and Stroll and just give a brief recap of that. Thank you to everybody who came out. I believe it was our highest attendance ever. Town was very busy. It can be hard to calculate how many people there are. We make a rough estimate of most likely 3,500 to 4,000 people come to the event. We did sell out of the tasting packages, which we only sell 1,000 very early. It was only about 1:30. We had 63 artists there, and I've received probably half emails from half about what a fantastic day it was, which really, this is an art event. It's not a wine event. And so our artists selling and feeling really happy about the interactions is really our goal, is to really promote art in Napa County in general. So these local artists feeling good about the day is really the goal, and most of them did. And then we had 14 wineries and wine tasting rooms that volunteered their time and their wine to come out and pour just to be a part of the event, and that was very successful. a lot of time and effort goes into planning it. The logistics of the day is very much we couldn't do without our team here. So I just want to thank everybody in every department for their help, writing checks, helping with Public Works, helping with all the facility improvements that led up to it. But it was a great day, perfect weather, and everything went smoothly. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and a great event.
Yeah, and I just want to obviously thank Sam for all that work, and it was great to see it for the first time and participate. Had a great time, and it was just a well-run event. Also want to acknowledge the rest of the department heads, since we had the intentional. You okay?
Sorry, I hear clicking, and
okay.
I may have gotten a little distracted.
Yeah, I saw that. Any event, I wanted to thank the rest of starting with Celia in terms of the budget, and it's a huge accomplishment, but it's a team effort, and, John has a huge piece of that with the CIP, and Irene is obviously has to be involved with budgeting, but has a few major issues or major planning items coming at the next meeting. So everyone's and we all praised Hillary and now as part of the executive team. I feel like there's balance in the sense I've got 5 great department heads and 5 council members, and it's been about a year since I've been here. So I also wanted to note, because of all of their success, I am taking a holiday and taking 3 weeks off, where Sam will be acting as the town manager starting Saturday is when we leave. So I'll put out something more publicly, and I also want to make sure that the staff is aware of the budget that was adopted, as well as my plans to be gone. So I won't be here at the next meeting, but I'll be back which is June 4th, but I'll be back for the June 18th meeting, and then we'll move into the next fiscal year, with a lot of high hopes and aspirations. So I'm excited, obviously, to go on vacation, but I'm also excited to come back. So thank you.
Better.
So thank you again, and thank you to the staff.
Well, have a great vacation. We have a lot of work set up for you when you get back, so have a lot of fun. All right. Is that any other staff information reports? Councilmember Knight?
Just a council comment. Once we get through staff reports and everything, just the last item.
Okay, the last item. Let's go through the external meeting reports.
Okay.
Is it a meeting report?
I don't have a meeting report. I just wanted to mention something, but once we're finished with that.
Okay. Let's see. I have a couple. I've been kind of busy here. Let's see. Cal LAFCO, pretty busy. I've had a couple meetings where we're working on modernizing Cal LAFCO. We really haven't made any changes since 1975, so I always like to get in, see if we can make some improvements, and we're really to support all 58 LAFCOs. Also had a legislative committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and I got a call from California Senator Marie Durazo, who is now representing the local government committee. She's a state senator for Central LA and East LA. She wanted to know about Cal LAFCO and LAFCO, so I went off to Sacramento to meet with her. It was a great meeting. May 14th, flood control and water conservation district. We got an update on the flood wall kind of north of the bypass. That's going to be completed in 2028. Also, on the other piece of the flood wall, which is going from Amola to the Hat flood wall, current project, that's going to be completed in 2029. We also conducted a protest hearing for the Rutherford Benefit Zone. This is a group of people along Rutherford Road that actually are taxing themselves, if you will, and then the money goes into the benefit zone so that they have money to kind of really maintain the river in that area. So that's really great. City Selection Committee, we also met on May 14th. I was elected as chair, and Scott Sedgley was elected as vice chair. We appointed American Canyon Mayor Leon Garcia to his next term on ABAG, and Anna Chateau as the alternate. And with that, those were my meetings. Do you have any meetings? Because I know you have a comment. Councilmember Reeves, I'll go to her and then I'll come back to you.
Actually, Councilmember Tripp will report on the CAC meeting, but I'm just going to report on our ad hoc committee. We are moving forward. We met with Gary today to work out the state laws versus local laws issues, and we have met with the Upper Valley Disposal about their recycle and compost requirements and abilities, and we have met with the Calistoga group that helped create the original foodware ordinance, and we are meeting with Napa Climate Now and Whitney of our chamber this week, and at that point we will be able to work a little bit more with Gary about what we would like to see in a local ordinance, and then be able to present those ideas to the businesses in town and get feedback, and then possibly come back to the council with results.
I'll just speak very quickly. The Climate Action Committee, or maybe it's Advisory Committee, has really got a lot of energy, and there's a lot going on. The major thing that will be coming up is they've retained a consultant to develop a climate action plan for the county, and the consultant's been selected, and so there'll be a lot of opportunities for the individual jurisdictions to participate in that process and work with the consultant. So I would like to ask, and I'm sure Pam would reconfirm that if our staff can just let us know at least when they've been invited to attend meetings with the consultant, and I know that's your job and not ours to participate, but it just helps us be aware of what's going on. And I think that will be a huge step to get the plan together. But on a more granular level, we had a great presentation from a professor at Cal Berkeley in the law school. They have a public policy kind of climate department. Probably somebody endowed it so that they could have a focal point. But long story short, they have some really, really smart researchers who have developed a mapping system, overlay system of where to put electric car chargers, and which is a big question. And apparently, I think the estimate is the state will need 2 million, and we have like 200,000 now. So if we're going to move to this electrification, but long story short, the map blends demographic information about apartment buildings versus homes, because obviously people who live in apartments need public chargers, some information about where they could be located, and long story short, the map puts all those different information bases together and can provide a city or a town with exact locations of where chargers would make the most sense. Which can be really valuable for getting both grants, where there are a lot of grants that are going to be available from the federal government, but also for private funding, to be able to say to an investor or a lender, you could make money by putting a charger here. I don't always think commercial is the best way to go, but this demand is such that the public financing alone isn't going to be able to build all these chargers. So anyway, we heard a presentation from Professor Lamb at Cal Berkeley Law School, and agreed, I think, basically to for $10,000, which is a heck of a deal, they'll give us a grad student researcher for the summer who can build such a map for Napa. And I think that will be really great, because we have all sat around on that commission and looked at each other and said, well, where would we put the chargers? And it's particularly useful, I think, for us, because we have so many people coming up 29, tourists in electric vehicles. And the more chargers we can get in place, it's good for our economy and it's good for the environment. And then I should also say this professor's real charge is also to look at the equity issue, because people of lower income tend to live in apartments or places where they can't have access to a charger at their house. So it becomes more important that they have public charging available, even though, of course, they'll have to pay for it. So anyway, that was very exciting. And just the fact that the committee is really has a sense of urgency, which I think is great. So,
Councilmember Knight, comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow up with the town manager said a moment ago, thanking the staff, because as we all noted on today's agenda, there was 11 consent calendar items, and all those items touched all our departments: finance, administrative services, parks and rec, planning, public works, the town clerk, and probably a little bit of the town attorney's work as well. And so I just wanted to thank our directors and all the staff for all the work that they do that ends up in a consent calendar that gets the work of the town done. And so, and I just had yesterday morning out for a walk. In our neighborhood, someone had driven through a stop sign, and coming over here to meet with the town manager, I mentioned it to our public works director. And this morning, out early going to work, there was a public works employee out there putting in a new wooden stop sign, which is unique to our community. So thank you for everyone's work on behalf of the council and the town. Thank you.
And just one last comment: tomorrow at the community center from noon to 1:30. I think somebody mentioned waste, so I always like to talk about solid waste myself. So UVDS will be here, and we'll have a lot more comments, and I think help people. We did a little bit at our first Wednesday. And where does that dirty paper plate go, or that recyclable plastic cup? So I think we're kind of at the point now with SB 1383 that we've got a lot of people's attention, and they're really trying to figure out where to put the right thing. So come on by. That's Thursday, right, Samantha? Yes. Yeah, Thursday. Yeah, at noon. So, and with that, I will take a motion for adjournment. Can we just do a voice vote?
Adjournment?
Yes, Mayor.
We have a motion. We have a motion by Knight, second by McKee-Kent. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? And we are adjourned until June the 4th at 3 p.m. I think I've got that right. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Either was a little dehydrated and at work, I was like, all of a sudden it started spitting. So, you just got to be careful.
Testing.
Water and things like that. So, other than that, generally I feel a lot better.
Testing.
Yeah. Go to bed earlier. You just stay up and all of a sudden, sleep is really. I have all these doctors now that says, "Are you getting 8 hours of sleep?"
Testing. I can hear that one.
They all recognize how important it is to get enough sleep. So,
Do you have trouble?
Testing.
No, I just get. I'm kind of a night person. I've got to really start learning to be more of, go to bed early enough to just get up. Because I can be very productive in the morning too. So when I get up early, Kay gets up at 5 o'clock, and so because she's got to get out by 7, or so to get to school and things like that.
Are you back at work?
I'm at work, and right now I have a schedule where I don't work till 10. So that's why I'm probably staying up too late, and I need to get. Eventually, my schedule will adjust back to earlier. So
you're working your normal.
Yeah, I work 40 hours plus. For problem solving issues.
maybe 10 feet.
Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello.
It's literally 100 feet from our window. If you didn't want to wake up every morning at 8 a.m.
Hello, hello, hello.
Friday before I leave.
You're the only one that said maybe we'll adjust the hours, maybe we'll adjust the location, maybe we'll adjust the work. I don't trust a dog. And all I see when I go to dog parks is dogs screaming at their parks.
Steering committee, council here, parts of the next meeting here.
I hope so. I appreciate you hearing me out.
Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. What's that?
I mean, Sunday morning, really?
Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing.
What about this one? Oh, I can't even hear myself on this one. I can't even hear myself on this one.
I can hear you.
Can you?
I can hear you. Yeah. It's just
Just please keep a keen eye on it. The busy factor and the compliance.
Do you want to trust a few more?
What's that? No, I'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow morning.
I'll turn it off then.
Thanks for keeping a key on it.
Enjoy your vacation. So that's great.
Yeah, sure. I'll be around on Saturday if you need anything.
Okay, good. Thank you. Enjoy.
Yes, I'll see you
Oh, no, thank you. I just wanted to check in with you too, because it's good to hear differing opinions.
Well, this guy, he seems extremely confident. I say that based on my conversations with him. The proposal is definitely, I read through most of it. It's very detailed. So this is where you put on your, science classes and sort of break it down.